This is FCTV, fan-controlled television. Programs created and produced for the fans, by the fans of fan-controlled sports and entertainment. As always, power to the fans. And now, it's time for the show.
Yeah, it is. It's so time for the show. It's showtime? Time for the show time? Do I sound weird?
I'm going to take my shirt off, so it's more Cinemax than talk again.
Talking, me talking, good, talky. How do I sound?
You sound okay to me. How do I sound? I'm having microphone trouble. Sorry, everybody.
I know. I sound great at talkie. Thank you very much. Talkie. Welcome, everybody. Hi, I'm Kenny Stevenson.
I'm Alex Enriquez. Hello.
This is Fan-Controlled Fandom, and I just want to point out the name of the show, which I came up with an hour ago. Cowboy, Bebop, Hip Hop, Flip Flop.
Yes.
Just an all-time fantastic name that I don't often like to toot my own horn, but that was toot. I'm going to toot my horn on that one. That's hilarious.
It's real good, and I've been walking the city streets at night, sending pictures of myself to Kenny in my new character, Hip Hop Ding Dong. I'd say that's Hip Hop Ding Dong is the main character in the movie that we watched.
Somebody walking around LA as much as you are at night by themselves is not a good idea. But hey, as long as you're sending me pictures to prove that you're doing it, welcome.
Yeah, it's called Proof of Life, Kenny. It's called Proof of Life.
Thank you. And that way, and I can geotag it so I can send it to the cops to let you know that where Alex's location is.
We found it. Public enemy number 1. Shoot to kill, fellas.
Hip hop. What's your name? Hip hop.
Hip Hop Ding Dong.
Hip Hop Ding Dong. Oh God! What everybody's asking themselves, what the hell is this? This is Fan-Controlled Fandom. This is all things we like to say in the cape space. This is all we are talking about. Content that involves people wearing capes, superheroes, fan-controlled justice. I love that. Let the fans vote whether you live or die.
Mm-hmm. I like it. Or I am some kind of street vigilante live streaming my exploits, and the chat gets to decide what kind of punishments I disperse as I bring justice to the streets.
That feels like dark web content. BC Lion says
feels like Dark Knight content, buddy.
Heyo. Dark Knight, cape space. Superheroes wear capes. People fighting dragons wear capes. People flying TIE fighters for some stupid reason wear capes. I don't know if we actually saw Duke Midnight Vigil Fanti. Fantastic. Freddie Airmail, well done.
Boy, Freddie Airmail. I'm telling you, the overnights are full of great repartee.
I know, king of puns, like fantastic wordplay there. I don't know if there were actually any capes in what we watched, but Alex and I need to bring mine to work next week, please. Alex and I got to go see a special screening of the 2001 movie Cowboy Bebop, the movie. And since we're in a downtime in between Echo and, I don't know, I guess Madam Web is coming up in February, whether you want it to be or not. We went to go see it together. We went to the movie theaters together, and we went and saw Cowboy Bebop, the movie. And so that's why the show is titled Cowboy Bebop, Hip Hop, Flip Flop.
And I'll let you know right now, Kenny refused to hold my hand because he said it was too clammy. So
it's not because of any sort of I feel comfortable holding a man's hand in public. I'm not I'm happily married. I know I'm happily married to a woman. I know what my status is in this world, but it was just too clammy. It was why is it so clammy? It's cold outside.
Well, I was, I was nervous about Hip Hop Ding Dong and what he was going to be up to up on the screen.
Spike.
And that's why I clarified. I didn't think Kenny wasn't freaked out from a homophobia thing. He was just like, your hands are, what were you holding a wet drink?
That's what it felt like. No. It felt like, what were you like doing the dishes before you came here? And then just went right over, like clammy hands.
As near as me and the doctors can tell, it's my body trying to form a protective layer. And we don't know why or what from, but
well, to who and what for? We did it. 5 minutes in, we're gonna get to the quick hits of pieces, quick pieces of nerd news. Before we talk about Cowboy Bebop, Hip Hop Flip Flop, we got to talk about the quick happenings in the world of fandom. It's called Quick Hits. Here's a stinger. Quick hits. Look at that, and it stopped right on time. I mean,
that's a fan-controlled fandom first. You saw it here, folks.
Boom, boom, boom.
Absolutely.
Vote on that in the Control app. Well done. Do download the Control app, the fan controlled app, and there's like literally daily things you can pick on. I pick there on like Sundays they do like ABA minor league basketball. I'm here for it. Oh, Freddie Airmail, clam controlled football. He just has it coming, baby. Cousin to fish controlled football. Shout out Bang Bang Rogers. So this is, again, I don't know what's going on. It's a bit of a slow kind of news time. I had read in all of the goofy Reddit threads that this was the week we were going to get the official announcement of the Fantastic Forecast. That is a forecast on the Fantastic Forecast is we did not get it this week. But did you see though, Alex, the somebody asked Eben Boss Burt Bacharach, did you see that somebody asked him whether he is playing Thing? And he said, I don't know. I think it's the kind of thing where I can't confirm nor can I deny kind of thing, or something to that effect. So he's the Thing. So,
oh, I love it.
Did you see that?
I love it. And I did see him kind of play at that, and I'm here for it. Like I said, I think it's the perfect play for someone like him to be able to like keep his mystique. You know, you get him in the first 5 minutes, and the rest of it's a leotard covered in ping pongs. And
yeah, he's like, great. What do I got to do? I get to do most of my work in ADR. Great. I get to sit in a booth and work, and you're still going to pay me $14 million to be in this movie. Excellent.
Yeah, here's the thing. Bradley Cooper was in a comic book movie, and it's not the most shameful thing he did last year.
You mean the Academy Award nominated work in Maestro?
I mean the unnecessary prosthetic work in the Maestro.
We'll talk about that offline, but I spoke to somebody about that recently, and he got the blessing from the Leonard Bernstein estate, so it's fine. Anyway, there is some alleged casting news this week. So we had spoken previously that Stephen Ewan, however you want to pronounce it, from Walking Dead, from the excellent film Minari, from the absolutely wonderful Netflix show Beef, who he's won an Emmy for Beef, won a Golden Globe for Beef. I'm probably going to vote for him to win a SAG award for Beef. He was originally cast to be in the Thunderbolts, and he had to, because of scheduling, had to step away. There is a rumor that they have already found his replacement, and his name is Louis Pullman, which was a name that I was like, who? But then when I looked on to see who he is, are you familiar with this actor at all?
Not
Alex?
At all.
Have you watched the show?
I'm familiar with the company, the Pullman Car Company.
Yeah, Bill Pullman. I wish he was Bill Pullman's son, but he's not. He actually is have you heard of the show Lessons in Chemistry, starring Captain Marvel herself, Brie Larson? It's an Apple TV Plus show based on the book. And he is the male kind of counter to her, to Brie Larson's character on that show. And you know what? He's freaking awesome. So when I saw that this was what this guy's name was, and saw that that's who they're considering to play. God, remind me the party's supposed to be playing.
The Sentinel.
That is going to be this guy, Louis Pullman. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm in. Excellent. If you watch that show? He is an excellent performer. You're going to be very excited to see his casting.
Have we gone over who the Sentinel is, origins, powers, all that stuff?
I don't know if we have. Can you? Because I don't really have much of a base of who he is, and I know you're the comics guru.
Well, let me take off my cool guy hat and put on my comic book guy Walmart fedora.
Boots, do one of these?
No, actually, Sentinel was a character introduced into Marvel and posited that he'd been there the whole time, but it had been somehow shifted out of continuity to not only the other heroes' recollection, but to ours as well. And so there was a miniseries introducing him where they reproduced 60s, 70s, 80s era comics with him in them. And it was to somebody's benefit to remove him. He's been back and forth in continuity. I think at one point he was kind of a villain because they played with the idea that he deals with some mental health issues as a result of having been wrenched from continuity. And he was best friends with Reed Richards, something like that. And then coming back to a world that doesn't know him has traumatized him to a certain level. Power wise, he's like on par with Captain Marvel, I would say, at least how they've presented her in the movies. And how he's presented in the comics. Yeah, like a Superman allegory with like energy hand powers, of some level.
Energy hand powers. That's how Captain Marvel defines her powers as what I forget. It's called going Nova, or who the hell knows? I'm sure people do know, but I'm not that person.
She
that's
says,
exciting.
"Flame Johnny," and she explodes.
That's exciting. It makes hearing you describe the character like that, it makes me even more bummed that it's not Steven Yeun. But no, this guy is fantastic. I'm telling you. I mean, I recommend the series in general. The Lessons in Chemistry is an actual great watch. It's a wonderful show. It's a limited series.
Sentry or Sentinel? Sorry to interrupt.
You said Sentinel, but it's Sentry, right?
Sentry. That's right. Yeah.
Sentinel are the things that they're sent to go round up all them mutants.
Right. They're something we're terrifyingly close to developing in real life.
Yes. Yes. The Sentinels are the thing that Marvel was too horribly predicted, and that's where we are. But yeah,
that's baby stuff. Draws a diagram,
Draws a diagram. Yeah, so I just want to put that in there because I didn't know if you'd watch this, but I do recommend, because you will see that the reason why he's an exciting casting choice is the kind of emotional levels that he showcases in that show. He has moments of sweetness. He kind of probably has Asperger's, but he's like a scientist, and so he has moments of anger, but then moments of sweetness. He just runs this really nice kind of like balanced performance that he puts through on that show. So I would love to see that applied to our Cape Spacey Guga. Let's go.
I mean, it's like I don't know, but it does infer that maybe he's the threat that they have to face in the same way like Hulk is sometimes. They have to assemble this team of ne'er-do-well Avengers. It's a Marvel Suicide Squad to take on the threat that he represents because he's a man out of time and a man out of balance in his head or whatever. I hope they don't do he's a villain because he's crazy, but
I hope so. I can't imagine. I mean, of all the things that they're doing, I can't imagine they'll do that. As long as it's just going to be really hard to have to pull John Walker off of storming the Capitol to then join this crew. But
yeah, well, I mean, his ankle bracelet.
That's right. They're gonna have to get him out of prison because it wasn't for any of the none of the murders he committed, just specifically because he was in Pelosi's office with his feet up on the desk on January 6th, 2020.
They popped him for 6 months because he squished a poop in a Xerox in Pelosi's office. And so he's got him on his, and that's a plot point. He actually is running to battle. Then he realizes he's like, oh my God, I've reached 1,000 yards. So he's like trying to stretch, but leave his ankle behind. They do one of those great like wide shots where he's like not close to it. It'll be classic Marvel mirth.
Classic Marvel. Did you see this week that there was a Roger Ebert review of Iron Man that somebody found? And basically in the review, he gave the movie a thumbs up. Rest in peace, Roger Ebert. But in the review, he basically says, when talking about Robert Downey's portrayal of the character and saying how refreshing it is and how interesting it is to see this like kind of quippy, fun hero, but then basically says, I hope that this is something that they don't try to replicate. And I was like, well, sorry. It's like
$28 billion later.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, they print money by making the first thing you do in your screen test is see how many riffs you can do on the script. That's like what gets you cast now. But anyway, Roger Ebert. Did you see the trailer for the new season of The Bad Batch?
No, I didn't.
Yes, it just came out, like, I believe 2 days ago, and in the trailer, it says that this is the final season. We were only getting 3 seasons of Star Wars: The Bad Batch, this being the final one. And yeah, I just want to know what I didn't know it was gonna be the last one either. What's your feelings about hearing that this is gonna be the final season of The Bad Batch, a show that you and I both really, really enjoy?
I'll be sad to see them close the loop there, because I feel like, this is probably a bell I ring a lot here on the big broadcast, but they've created this silo that is in continuity but pursuable in a completely own direction, away from what we know, away from like post Clone Wars, whatever. They were doing their own thing, and so to close down that avenue is disappointing. But I also think there, for some reason in my head, I'm thinking that not having the animation around anymore to put it against will maybe allow them to deploy those characters in live action, possibly coming up in like this like Ahsoka
Speaking of which,
that we're going up.
Yeah,
every time. If there's one thing you should know about the big broadcast, well, one of the things you should know, probably like top 3 or 5 things you should know about the big broadcast, is that somebody has to have the courage, the temerity, the unmitigated gall to cast Tamura Morrison as Omega, the female clone of Boba Fett.
Yeah, the logic, we're not saying this because we're being silly. The logic of this is Omega from the Bad Batch, she is a female clone of Jango Fett. And Boba Fett is also, and Boba Fett is also a clone of Jango Fett. And both Boba Fett and Jango Fett are played by Tamura Morrison. Therefore, if you're going to have live action Omega in your Star Wars, she has to be played by Tamura Morrison. Do it, you cowards. Do it.
I mean, you've got all the computer hootenanny that you've got at your disposal back there. You got enough craze back there in Marin to literally switch a chromosome. Let's do it, you nasty little cowards.
Come on. I was definitely bummed to see that this was the last season as well. But when you watch that trailer, man, who shows up at the end? Spoiler alert. A little bit of a Saj Ventress, who, if you are somebody who has watched all of Clone Wars, that's a character you like seeing, because she is very interesting and fun, and she has a little bit of hair too, which is wild. Traditionally, a fully bald character has a little, like, almost like kind of what I got going on right now, a little tuft of hair right up front.
What a tuft!
I got nothing. There's nothing over here. Once you get to the earphones here, everything behind is bald. But yeah, I just have a little tuft of hair up top, just like her.
This thing up here sometimes tries to whisper to me at night. So we've all got our troubles.
Your hair, this man, there's no your hair. We could spend 4 hours talking about how great your hair is. KMLGLZ says, greetings to everyone. Good news. I can't wait to hear what this good news. Greeting to you as well. Again, cast Tamura as live action Omega. Omega is in the trailer, so she's definitely not going to they're not going to kill a child on Star Wars. So where is she going to go?
No.
Where is she going to go? And you know where she needs to go? She needs to be somewhere where she shows up. And then in theory, I guess you cast like different bodied people, but then Tamura Morrison in theory should be the face of the Bad Batch too, in theory, right? But like stretched out faces, or like like something like that.
I was thinking about that. I think you could get away with casting different actors, especially in live action, and you just go, oh yeah, as a result of the cloning and change of their, the strand casting or whatever, that they look this way. I think, blah, blah, blah. But also it might be funny to just watch them stretch Tamura Morrison's face.
That's what I'm saying. Like
9-foot tall bodybuilder. Hold on a minute. Are Tiny Zeus Lister and Michael Clark Duncan both dead?
Yes, they are not alive anymore.
God dang it, rest in peace to both of them, and I mean that. That's a
Are you saying you want to see a world where we could digitally put Tamura Morrison's head on Tiny Lister's body? That'd be amazing.
I'm not saying that.
Yeah, I know. If you're not saying it. If you do cast people who aren't Tamura Morrison to play the Bad Batch, they better be Maori, though. That's all I'm saying. Better be Maori people from the Isle of New Zealand, as Tamura Morrison is. Otherwise, you're really stepping off a limb.
And you know what? As we have seen, and I just hate to boil it down to this, but let's face it, the NFL is a great display of different kinds of very vastly different but very athletic body shapes.
Yep.
And the NFL happens to have a lot of people of Samoan heritage in it, right?
A lot of Polynesians. Get in there.
A lot of people are very different,
Marcus Tuiasosopo.
Hey, Tua Tagovailoa.
Yeah, why not? The quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. Get him out there, put him in a stormtrooper, and just roll him out. Bad Batch, the movie, live.
Here, when asked about being a Hawaiian, did you hear his answer?
No.
He said, "I'm from Hawaii. I'm not Hawaiian."
I love that.
What a guy!
I love that. Tell him. What else do we got? What else do we got here? As we're waiting for my notes to load. Oh, yes. This is something that I think you would be into. Supergirl. Obviously, we're getting the Superman movie coming out. They're shooting it this year. Probably will not be coming out until 2025. They're already moving forward on the character is apparently going to appear first in Superman Legacy and then get their own project, which is Supergirl. They had been seeing actors for it. They are now down to apparently 2 people, which a very unfortunate name. The first person's name is Millie Alcock, and oh gosh, darn it! It's Friday.
It's
Friday. Millie Alcock. I can't imagine it's not pronounced any other way than Alcock, right? Like that's what it is. Anyway, she played the younger version of the lead woman on House of the Dragon, who I thought was a very, very talented performer. And the other actor is a woman by the name of Meg Donnelly from the show Winchester. So apparently she is going to be in Superman Legacy before taking the lead in her own movie, Supergirl World of Tomorrow. So it's finally down to this. It's going to be a scripted series, and the search is still on for a director, but Gunn has teased that this version of Supergirl will be different. In our series, we see the difference between Superman, who was sent to Earth and raised by loving parents from the time he was an infant, versus Supergirl, who was raised on a rock, Alcock raised on a rock, a chip off Krypton, and watched everyone around her.
Off the old block.
A chip off the old Alcock, and watched everyone around her die and be killed in terrible ways for the first 14 years of her life, and then came to Earth when she was a young girl. She's much more hardcore. I think I remember you and I talking about this when the first slate of when James Gunn announced the full slate of the DCU, that this was going to be a kind of more hardcore Supergirl who had, like, quote unquote, seen some stuff. You know what I mean?
Right. She, the series is a great.
Brian DeLay, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, my computer is working real hard. Yeah, I can hear you.
Your signal's been weird. Not to give everybody a peek at the sausage and the kimono, but it's been some signal issues, and I'll leave it at that. It'll add it to the post-mortem.
We'll fix it in post. We'll fix it in post.
Girl of Tomorrow is a terrific series. Get a hold of it today. I'm really, really happy they're choosing that as like a thing to set some of this up with. It's like one of my favorite kinds of stories. Something I've always wanted to try and crack myself is like the depowered Superman sort of storyline. That's essentially Kara lands in a place that her powers don't exist anymore, but that doesn't mean she's not Supergirl, and you get to see that like fully. It's a really, really cool story by Tom King, I think, is the writer. His stuff is tremendous. Mr. Miracle, Adam Strange, a whole bunch of he's done really, really good work on a whole bunch of really good characters. I think he's also involved in the production of this series too.
I mean, I'm here for it. This all sounds very, very interesting. And to hear that James Gunn is kind of operating in a more kind of grounded take for this character, which, I mean, I think I've said it before, the whole concept of Superman is really silly, like really, really silly. And it carries over to Supergirl as well. You know, somebody wearing blue and red tights with a cape in 1930, whatever, when Superman... That's mind-blowing, but in 2024, it's really silly. So to find ways to make that character more earthbound is super, super fascinating. I love it. I love it. I love it. BC Lion says he has to mute this conversation in case students arrive in the class. Yeah, sorry. I'm just reading her name. I'm not doing anything that's her name. Her name is spelled A-L-C-O-C-K, Millie. That would be my choice. I don't know if you're familiar with the other these actors, but just by seeing the work that Millie had done on House of the Dragon, I think it would be a coup to get her. She was so good.
Yeah, I'm just like I said, you know, I really trust James, and I think his choices all the way around are something I'm really excited to see. Like, and I think we're now at this point where he can. What I'm really excited about is he gets to play with these pieces in a very expansive way. So like the launch points of this universe are going to be an animated series, a Superman movie, a Supergirl series, a Green Lantern series they're developing. This is going to take place over the whole breadth of media options available. Whereas when, you know, you remember those early days of the MCU, it was so trickly because you really could only do it on the movie level. It was really only just like every couple of years we got a movie. So approaching this thing from like a universal development standpoint from one vision is something, and especially this person, I'm really excited about.
Yeah, it's something we always talk, and the people who disagree with that on Twitter can kick rocks. I got a couple of really quick things that are more on the like kind of funny side. Real quick, Deadpool 3 wrapped up. This isn't on the show breakdown. Deadpool 3 wrapped this week, which is a movie that I believe comes out in like 6 months. This is a movie that comes out in July, and they just wrapped this movie. Now, were they working on effects during the strike for like 4 or 5 months? Yes, absolutely. So this isn't a movie that's like, all right, now we've wrapped production. It's time to start post-production. Like, this is a movie that they have been doing post on for a long time. But to commemorate the picture wrapping, which is very apropos of the way Ryan Reynolds plays his character, he just posted a set pic that he quote unquote said, then it was just basically a picture of his crotch. So, you know, that's something that happened.
Good. Here we go. I mean, we're literally the only Marvel movie coming out this year. So
yes, I know. And
please.
it's the Marvel movie that's actually going to have like all the Guga that you have thought was going to be in like every Marvel movie, like, oh, who's going to show up? Who's going to be in this movie? And you don't, and like, it doesn't, you're constantly thinking about that. This is that movie. This is the movie where every weird, like sideways reference to something is going to happen. So this is like the Marvel movie you've been waiting for. This is, I didn't put this in the show notes either, because I didn't want to spoil the joke of this. Are you familiar with the actor Tom Hollander? He played.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, he played one of like kind of the main guy who lured Jennifer Coolidge onto the boat in season 2 of The White Lotus. So apparently, he was on Seth Meyers this week, and he revealed that he was once mistakenly sent a box office bonus meant for Tom Holland. So people in the accounts department of my agency, I guess they're at the same agency, were confused. We were at the same agents briefly, and it was a terrible moment. I went to see my friend who was doing theater in England. I sat smugly in the audience, just having done a BBC show for $30,000. The interval came, and I checked my email, and I got one from the agency saying, payment slip for first box office bonus for the Avengers. It was an astonishing amount of money. It was not his salary. It was his first box office bonus, not the whole box office bonus, the first one. And it was more money than I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
It was a 7-figure sum. So that's absolutely hilarious. Somebody at the agency was like, "Oh, Tom Holland," and it's like it auto-filled it and it said hit send. Yeah, that's right, BC Lion. Ryan Reynolds, Canada's treasure. He's Vancouver's treasure too. He's actually, I believe he's from Vancouver even. So there you go.
Kenny, or it's just funny that I've been talking lately about weird sort of revelatory emails and whatnot. And we were briefly with the same commercial agent who sent an email to every single client without blind copying it. So like we all had 2,000 people's emails, every comedian in Los Angeles. Anyway,
yes, I remember that. You still don't get her emails, right?
I know the one you're talking about.
The one that came this week?
Yep.
Oh my goodness. Did you look that guy up?
No.
I did. We'll talk about that offline.
We can't get into it?
We can't get into it, but I'll tell you some stuff offline. Remind me. Real quick before we wrap up, I read this and I feel like more and more our last piece of news is always us kind of going like, ugh, like groaning or like, come on. And it usually involves some sort of Zack Snyder related news. But I read this and I didn't even read past the headline, but I was just like, come on. So the last Jurassic World movie was supposed to be the last movie, right? That was the whole thing. We made 3 Jurassic Parks. We made 3 Jurassic Worlds. We brought everybody back from the first one to be in this thing, and it's the last one. But I just read that there apparently a new Jurassic World film is in the works with Jurassic Park writer David Kopp writing the script. And it's just, this is one of those things that we did on our famous Turkey episode, in which it was like things that we kind of wanted to see go away. And this is one of them. And I don't understand why we still are trying to capture the magic of this movie from almost 30 years ago.
It is 30 years ago.
That's right. It was 93. So last
30
year.
Years.
Yeah.
Right. Do you remember the lysine contingency?
No. What's that?
The way that they controlled the dinosaurs, at least canonically, I think in the book, maybe even the movie, was that that the dinosaurs couldn't reproduce, right? Because they were all one gender, but then they started switching genders. But they had also made the dinosaurs dependent on a chemical called lysine that they had to be fed. And without lysine, which they couldn't get or produce normally or something, they'd die, which was another way to kind of keep the control of the population. And I don't know. I don't feel like the dinosaur. The whole thing was about how the dinosaurs just kept producing. Like the whole.
Hey, life finds a way. Life finds a way.
Franchise is life finds a way. So like, why wouldn't they just keep making these things? Like they made the last Jurassic World movie. This is, as far as I've seen, a Jurassic Park movie, if I may. Are they going to reboot?
I just like. There's a part of me. I think this was like what we said during this, like the infamous, now, like I would say infamous, the more than famous episode of the big broadcast, when it was just a podcast, not a live stream, was about like turkeys. We was right around Thanksgiving, and it was basically 3. I picked 3, you picked 3. It was franchises that we wish they would just stop making more of. And the thing that drives me kind of nuts about this one particularly is that I don't think there is like an insatiable appetite for it. Like you have the receipts. Like the last one, they've consistently made less money. So I don't understand why you still think that like, God, we got to get that another dinosaur movie out. It's like the same thing with like Terminator. They're like constantly trying to find ways to bring back the Terminator. And they've tried like 5 times since Terminator 2. And it's like, maybe people don't want you to make another one of those. You know?
Well, hold on a minute, Kenny. Studio executives are people, and they want Jurassic Park movies. They want money, I guess. I don't know. It's just it's a successful piece of IP. They need to say something. I mean, who knows if this isn't like, hey, we're trying to bump the stock price a little bit by announcing this to our investors or whatever.
Yeah, maybe. You know? It never actually gets made. This is going to be straight to Peacock.
How much does it cost to keep David Koepp on? Is that the guy's name? On retainer to develop this thing with a limited production team to make it look legit. And unless you really find something promising, that's a switch you don't have to flip.
I love you. You always bring me back down to earth. Thank you.
That's what I'm here for, man. Just next time, hold my hand. Just
but
like put up with the wetness.
Well, the plants on the island were lysine rich. So Hammond that's what happened. They were lysine rich plants.
I can't see the chat. Who said
that? Jess, Fan Control Sports. Quick hits. We did it. Just a tight 35 minutes. Well, we did 5 minutes of Guga at the top, and then we did tight 30 minutes on quick hits. This is the time we are on the Fan Control Sports Entertainment Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter stream. This is the time where we do one piece of sports news to appease the sports gods. Alex, take us out to the track. Formula One racing, baby.
Well, don't drink and drive or name your F1 team. We thought Steak F1 Grand Prix Karting Go, or whatever it was the worst name in the game. Well, the former AlphaTauri sister team, of course, to Red Bull, has announced that they will, as of next season, be called Visa Cash App RB.
Stop it. Come on. Really?
That's real. It's real. Visa Cash App RB. Back to you, Kenny.
Oh my God. That's terrible. That is
really strong stuff.
That is some really terrible stuff. My big piece of sports news, I actually have it ready to go. I'm ready to talk about a team that is currently playing 500 basketball. That's my Los Angeles Lakers, but I want to specifically talk about my favorite player on the Lakers, one D'Angelo Russell, who was constantly talked about in trade rumors. And while people are talking about him as the trade deadline is coming up in about 10 days, he's just been quietly shooting an absolutely insane amount of percentage that's from the field. Alex, he's averaging, in the last 5 games, he's averaging 27.2 points on 55.9% shooting. That means he's hitting more than half of his shots. He's shooting an ungodly 53.7% from three-point range. That is just something you don't do. To also go over with 6.4 assists over his last 5 games. Alex, Heat against the Bulls last night. So do you know what a heat check is?
Kenny, this entire time, I felt like you usually feel when I'm doing the F1 thing. I have
Got it.
Is this guy good? Are you saying, is this good?
Yes. Yes, this is all good. So heat check is I've hit a couple of threes. They've gone in. I'm going to see how hot I am. I'm going to shoot a third one real quick and see where it goes. He shot a heat check, basically got the ball in the corner, dribbled away from one guy, dribbled into a double team, threw up a three off of 1 foot and went in. I've not seen a player in a long time who just, it seems like to him, the rim is like a bathtub and he could just like throw it underhand and go in. It's an absolutely all-time fun thing happening. And I hope the Lakers don't give him up. He's my favorite player.
That sounds like this guy's balling out of control.
He is, as you love to say. You love to drop that. Oh God, he's balling out of control. That's a very clutch Alex Rodriguez phrase. Alex,
oh my God, this Rudy Tooty Fresh and Fruity is balling out of control.
All those times we go to the IHOP.
Yeah, you know.
Do you have who's our corporate sponsor for the week? Is it IHOP?
No, it's not. It's actually so much better. It's actually I'm really excited to officially announce the commissioner of the league has allowed our show to field its own team in the coming season. So
fantastic.
So coming up next season, starting this coming season for fan-controlled football, we will be fielding and running the fan-controlled Phantoms. Fan-controlled Fandom Phantoms. And it's as the manager of the team, it's my pleasure to announce some of our draft picks in advance. I know that's so. This is league commissioner Dr. Skeech Gummy Bear Brickman is really excited to let me announce our draftees during the ad breaks in the show. So
I can't wait. I can't wait to see who we got playing for us this year.
At receiver, we're drafting a promising young man out of Eastern Tennessee named Morris Johnson Jr. We got a heck of a quarterback.
I'm sorry to get his name.
Morris Johnson Jr.
Okay.
Okay. Next, we got a heck of a quarterback. A bit of an upstart from Eastern Portland named Andre Breams, and he's just got a cannon of an arm, this guy. And then next, at starting fullback, standing 6'2", 230 pounds, and seen in such shows as Psych and Jury Duty from Pasadena City College, it's me, Alex Enriquez. I run a 4.40.
Oh!
That's 4 hours and 4 minutes.
Okay.
And when I took the Wonderlic test, the machine told me I was the Antichrist, and it exploded. So I'm really excited to get started.
I can't wait to see you strap on those pads and get out there at fullback. You're going to be opening up all kinds of A, B, and C gaps for all them running backs, baby. Love it. I love that for you.
Yeah, we're going to be in a real 5-point target, sort of triangle scheme. Just real fundamentals.
Just real fundamentals. Real football fundamentals. That's we're obsessed with football fundamentals on this show.
Horse stance. The whole thing.
Horse stance. 5-point horse stance, baby.
Yeah. You gotta have 5 points.
You can't. Why are you out there
building a stool?
Yeah, come on. What? Oh my God. How many Wonderlicks does it take? Oh, great question, Freddie Arrow. How many Wonderlicks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop?
I don't know, but don't ask that owl from the commercial.
Yeah, he'll just laugh in your face. 3, get out of here. We made it. We're now finally 41 minutes in, getting ready to talk about Cowboy Bebop. That's right. Alex and I had the pleasure through, I believe it's called the AXC, I don't know, Anime Extreme something. They are hosting kind of monthly screenings of classic anime films. And so we got to go see Cowboy Bebop 2001. We told you last week that's what we're doing. So I hope you guys all did your homework and all watched the movie at home. That's why the show is called Cowboy Bebop Hip Hop Flip Flop. Let me give a quick recap of the movie, and then we will see where we are from there. This is a movie that was released in 2001 by just an excellent company, Sony Pictures Entertainment. On Mars, a few days before Halloween, Faye witnesses an unidentified terrorist blow up a tanker truck while chasing another bounty. The blast spreads an unknown pathogen that kills and sickens hundreds of people, way too close to home there. The Martian government offers a 300 million Wulong bounty for the culprit's capture, which the crew hope to earn. Faye and Edward identify the terrorist as Vincent. Edward is Spike, right? No.
Edward is the kid hacker.
Thank you very much. Wikipedia sometimes uses like last names and first names. I don't get what's going on. Identify the terrorist as Vincent Volaju, a soldier who is believed to have been killed on Titan. He survived a test of the pathogen, having been immunized, but amnesia and hallucinations have since driven him insane. Jet learns that the pathogen is a nanomachine, a biological weapon that has been illegally manufactured by the pharmaceutical company Cheerius Medical. Spike encounters Cheerius's agent Electra Ovilo, and he attempts to capture Vincent, but Vincent throws him off a train, then releases another cloud of nanomachines. Everyone else on the train dies except for Electra, who is immunized when in a relationship with Vincent. So that's how she got it. She gives a sample of her blood to a friend at Cheerius Medical, and they prepare a stock of vaccine. Vincent intends to explode a giant jack-o'-lantern balloons full of nanomachines at the Halloween parade, which will kill everyone on Mars. Jet recruits a gang of aged crop duster pilots to scatter the vaccine, and Faye hijacks the city's weather control systems to cause rain, assisting in the vaccine spread. Spike controls Vincent, and the two fight to a standstill. The nanomachines are released, but Spike is cured by the vaccine. Vincent prepares to kill Spike, but is shot by Electra. He thanks Electra for their time together, and then he dies. Alex, had you seen this movie before we went to go see it?
I had not. I tried with Cowboy Bebop a couple of times because the series had come highly recommended to me from people that I really trusted, and it was just truly something that did not connect with me. Not a qualitative judgment, just for whatever reason, I just couldn't make it past like the first 3 episodes or something. And again, not to take anything away from it because it's super cool. So I was really open, but I didn't have the best sort of, I don't know,
barometer of where it was. What did you think of the movie? What did you think of the movie?
I really enjoyed it. I mean, it's really, really cool. I mean, it's all of the things that I really liked about what I did see the series. I mean, the art of it, the animation at every turn is such a flex. Yeah, the story moves pretty well. I liked what it had to say. You know, it's not without its problems, but
we'll get to
I
those.
think it was. I think maybe it was something like, oh, that was more palatable to me as a movie. That world, that experience, those people, the what the artists are like trying to say with it and trying to do with it. That maybe it was better served in the movie format than it was for me in a TV series. But yeah, I really enjoyed myself and really enjoyed the movie. It's really good. It's a really, you know, it almost on the level of Akira in terms of its like
Mm,
in terms of its technical proficiency, maybe even better at times because it does, you know, it embraces kind of more traditional animation in a way that Akira doesn't because it's a
yeah,
sillier sort of story. But yeah, you know, I give it it's solid. I
it
really,
is
you
very
know,
solid.
if you're into art, if you're into animation, you've either already seen this or you should.
That's a good way to put it. I think I put something in there in the notes to talk about like, would this be a good kind of gateway for someone to get into this show? And you kind of already answered it, but we can talk more about that in a little bit. But yeah, my familiarity with I had seen some of the show when I was like more of a kid. Had watched some things here or there, but it's something that it's like, it's one of those things. It's kind of like The Wire, you know, where it's like, if you haven't watched it by now, do you have enough time to carve out to watch 6 full seasons of an hour-long HBO television show? I don't know. Will I ever have it? I don't know. Like Cowboy
Yeah,
Bebop kind of falls into that thing where it's like I've seen some of it, but I've always wanted to watch more. And then the live action show came out in 2021 with John Cho, who was, you know, very inspiring casting choice. He's not Japanese, but they did cast him in the lead role, and he's great. And the
is
show was kind
Spike?
of, I always feel like if it's anime, the implication is that they're supposed to be Japanese. Is my takeaway from watching anime, but that's just me. Apparently, that's me being very close-minded. But the show was interesting enough to where I wanted to then. I mean, it wasn't great, but it was just the way they were trying to kind of mimic the visual style of the anime. So I've always been like, oh, I should watch the anime. I should go back and watch it. It's just like, you know, it's like anything else. And then when I saw that this movie they were going to do the special screening of the movie, I was like, let's go. And yeah, I think I told you after it was done that like the stuff that really works, like the last like half hour of the movie is, you know, the whole kind of chase to get downtown, find the jack-o'-lanterns, the whole like fight on like Mars's version of the Eiffel Tower. All that stuff works like like it's like almost like this is, if you wanted to tell somebody why anime is so cool, like watch this 30 segment of this movie and see just like how, like what these people are doing who animate and create these films. Like I think you and I were talking, there's so many shots that are like cinematic. Like he's riding on this like flying motorcycle, whatever you want to call it, and it's like at an angle and it's like close up. So it's like it's just, the style is just, you just don't see things like this. So it was like really
Yeah.
compelling to watch, really, really great. Like I just think like I'm now will probably go back and I don't know, try to carve out some time to watch it, but I don't know if I ever will, but we'll see.
Well, what I told Kenny after we got out of it is that it is so cinematic. It's for like, you know, I think I told him this is an animated film. It's not a cartoon.
Oh
It's
yeah.
in like almost every frame they're trying to make it look like a live action movie. I mean, there's like incidental B-roll in this movie in a way that like you do not see in animated films because the animation is such a deliberate process. Like, you know, animation editing happens in the storyboarding process because at the end it's like it's too expensive. We have all these paintings. What do you mean we're going to cut? But I mean,
Yeah,
they
they
do.
do. Yeah, they'll do edits. Like I have a friend of ours, actually, Eric Kissack, who directed the movie that I wrote that you were also in. He was brought in to, he's an editor. He was brought in to do basically compile the first cut of the movie Sausage Party, which, by the way, go check out that movie. Excellent film. We want to talk about a really like harrowing ending. That's one of the most harrowing endings to a movie I've ever watched in my life. And it only really works really well if you see it in the theater, which I don't know if that's possible, but watching that in the theater, people losing their minds. Anyway, they had already recorded all the voices, and he made his edit on what's called the animatic, which is like it's like basically like rudimentary drawings that they do to kind of put the story together and to put the edit of the film together, and then they go and animate all of that. So the movie is if you're like somebody who's adding color to a still of an animated film, whether it's Pixar or whatever, that edit, for the most part, that's it. Like that's the edit of the movie. Like they might cut some stuff out because of testing and stuff, but they're not like going to do 4 months of reshoots on something, because that's 3 or 5 more years you're adding on to the project. So yeah, to that effect, it is very much like it is an animated film. It is a movie that just happens to be animated, which in my opinion, even when you're doing like a quote unquote like a Coco or Wall-E or Encanto, those movies all work because they're movies first that just happen to be animated. But this doesn't have any. This is very much a movie. There's nothing. The only thing that makes it an animated movie is that it literally is. They don't try to do too much with the form, except, which I think you and I both really greatly enjoy, the opening credit sequence. That
yes.
Just like, I will say this too, and this, I think it's more of like an anime thing. Any anime that you watch, whether it's like Demon Slayer or Attack on Titan or whatever the subject matter is, the credit sequence is always like jovial and fun and whimsical, which is like so,
right.
And the opening credit sequence of this movie is essentially like New York City. Like they went to New York City, I assume, and there's a thing called rotoscoping, which you and I talked about, which I want to talk a lot more about because it's amazing. Rotoscoping was a thing that was very popular in the 70s and 60s, 70s, and even into the 80s. But like, what's the guy? Is it Bass? Rankin Bass? No.
No, you're. Yeah.
Well, movies like Heavy Metal is a famous movie that's all rotoscoped. A totally weird movie. Watch that movie if you have a moment. Such a horny movie for no reason.
Wait, which one?
Heavy Metal.
Oh yeah, Heavy Metal is
such a horny movie for no reason. Anyway, John Candy's a voice in that movie too. So wild. But that's rotoscope. What they're doing is they basically shoot it. They shoot it on film, and then they kind of draw over the still, the frame of film. They create it into become a still animated frame or whatever. So it's like it's like the same movement. You get more movement out of it. And so the opening credits of this movie is like some guy went to New York City and just took footage of people on the streets of New York, something you do not see at any point ever again in the rest of the movie. Like there's no point. I think maybe they try to imply that like Mars is New York City-esque, I guess, but at no point are they back in New York. And it's just like people in New York. It's like an old like 1980s like Calvin Klein black and white TV ad, like guys playing basketball, like someone hailing a cab. And then at one point, like it cuts to somebody and he's under the suit and he just kind of goes like, nah. And like that's,
right.
And it's just like people. It's just they took footage of this and then animated it and then put Cowboy Bebop the movie on top of it. And I just was like, this has nothing to do with anything. And it was fantastic.
Yeah, this isn't a character in the film. It's like a featured extra, and I don't know that I've ever seen a featured extra in an animated movie. They just like pop up for a couple of days, like,
isn't that wild? There's a real person. It wasn't like they animated. That was a real person. They just took footage of and then animated over it. I don't know how that works for SAG. If you like, hey, if we paint over you, you don't get that acting fee anymore. Oh yeah, but many early Disney movies use rotoscoping. That's right. Thank you very much, Jess. It's a fascinating process that I put in the show notes as to like, I don't understand why. I mean, I know why they don't, because they have computers and stuff, but how much of the Pixar stuff do we know if that's, mocap at all?
They very proudly don't use any motion capture. At most, they will those guys are and gals and non-binary folks are very tied to a traditional way of animating things that is like human reference for sure, but you never, there's so much whimsy and mirth to their approach, like I think they call it squash and bounce, to that Disney Pixar approach to animation, that you really can't make it rigid to a human figure, like some people make the stylistic choice to do. Like I can't remember the guy's name. It's not Rankin Bass. Those were the stop motion people that did like Rudolph. But
yes,
it's the same guy that did Cool World, Fritz the Cat, Lord of the Rings.
Oh God, I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, just look it up. Really weird New York guy. Did some like XXX rated cartoons.
You want to talk about a movie that is weird? Cool World. That is a movie that I know you remember from like the early 90s, where it's like Kim Basinger was a voice of this like smoking hot animated person in the real world. That movie does not hold up. That movie is weird. Very weird.
Brad Pitt is in the movie.
Oh, thank you for saying that. That's right. He's like a cop. Yes. Yeah. He's in the poster. It's oh my gosh. Oh, it's Ralph. By the way, Ralph Bakshi. That's who it is.
I follow him on Instagram. I've seen all his stuff, which is very weird.
Who, Bakshi?
And by the way, yeah.
Incredible stuff.
Heavy metal is very horny because the magazine that it is based on is very horny. Like, do you know about that? Like, there's an American version of heavy metal, which is like this big, illustrated comic book erotica magazine that a lot of like really famous comic book artists, especially from Europe, do art in. The American version is called Heavy Metal, but I think the magazine originates from France and is called Metal Hurlant or something like that, which is heavy metal.
Get out of here.
I'm serious. I think that's really it. But like Mobius was in heavy metal, like legends of comic books.
Okay. I mean, I love it. It's we don't get that in this film, but what if we did?
Ooh, yeah.
No, something else I put down that I thought this movie did a really good job of, that, and I'm not sure how much this carries over from the TV show, is it is like a very full kind of world, like the world building. And I think this is true of a lot of anime, is that there's a lot of care, and they say that it's Mars that they're on, but when you're there, there's like water and there is full cities and stuff. So this is not like the Mars that we know, and that's how you know that this is taking place. It says it's the year 2071, which is absolutely insane. It should be like 2171, but to get water on Mars, because look, it's 2024 and we got enough pictures of Mars so that there is not water on that planet anymore.
We're 20 years closer and no physically closer to that goal.
Not even close. It's one of those, like the thing I always bring up, the fact that in 1989, Robert Zemeckis was like, you know what? By 2015, there's going to be so many flying cars that we're going to need to regulate it. But we're not even close. And you know what? Sure. It's going to be so many hoverboards that, like, Mattel's going to make them for kids. That's how many hoverboards there are.
Yeah, I like to think that our science fiction has gotten a lot less, when they're devising it, they don't say, and I don't know, I guess in 20 years they invent magic to get to like where the plot needs to go.
Maybe, because that's the one thing, because I wrote this down being like, wow, I thought it was really impressive, all the like, just this world that it operates in. It definitely, like, there is care and thought that is put into what this world is in terms of like just the fact that it's Mars. But now that I'm reading it's 2071, I'm like, they could have pushed this a little bit more. I thought it was like 2171. By the way, sidebar, I'm still thinking about Disneyland. I was there last week. Do you I know you know the answer to this question, but when you're in Tomorrowland, do you know what year it's supposed to be?
Like the year it was originally set in?
The year that when Tomorrow
1984 or something.
Yeah, it's like 1986. You are in Tomorrowland. When they first opened Tomorrowland, that's what the year it was, 1986. incredible stuff. That like Walt Disney, because Disneyland opened in what, 55 or something?
55.
Yeah, so like in 30 years, we are going to just zooming in and out of space like it's nothing. We're just going to be flying around in rocket ships, and it's just a thing. Everyone's going to be flip-flopping around on their rockets because it only takes 30 years to fully revolutionize travel.
Yeah.
Come on, folks. Come on, folks.
Dream
Anyway.
big, you ding-dongs.
But for what we're talking about now, this is the thing that I always think is... go ahead. You go. I'm done talking. You go.
Sorry, I wanted to talk a little bit about the world because it is like interesting to me that it's very recognizably, for the most part, New York.
Yes.
But that it contains, but every location that you visit really is a specific place in the world. He goes to this like Moroccan street that is not cartoon Moroccan. Like they rotoscoped people in traditional clothing and really took care to not cartoonify Middle Eastern people, but like represent them cinematically, I guess, which is, I appreciate the care they took with that. But it's also a world that looks very, very, very familiar, which I also found very interesting. Like,
yes,
most people are traveling around in cars on freeways amongst buildings that we kind of recognize the size and shape of. And then a rocket ship will kind of come into frame. And I thought it was just such an interesting overlay of like, because so much of the movie doesn't need to be in 2071 on Mars. We've seen this kind of thing kind of copied and pasted over all sorts of different, switch out the era, the location, whatever. None of it was really, dependent on science fiction. I mean, like the first sequence of the movie is in a convenience store that is so like plainly depicted that I was like, oh wait, is Cowboy Bebop in like modern day Chicago?
Yes, I was having the same thought. And I love that you brought this up because the opening sequence is essentially like, there's like a robbery happening in a convenience store. And I too was like, no, I know I've seen enough of this to know that we are not in present day, but it is clearly like trying to seem like, like we're in Chicago, we're in Brooklyn right now, we're in Queens, we're in a little bodega and there's a robbery going on and they stop this robbery. And then it cuts to, right after that scene, it cuts to a spaceship flying through the air. I mean, there was the whole credit sequence, which we already talked about. So we're very, very much, when we start this movie, we're very much in this place of present day, and then hard cut to just spaceship in space flying around. Oh no, we're in the future right now. And that, to me, I think you're right. That grounding, it really makes this thing work more as like an animated film and not just like a cartoon. Also, I want to point out that Moroccan area that we saw, that I think they even called Morocco. They called it Morocco or
Morocco Street or something like that.
Yeah, they did. And one of our favorite parts of the movie that you and I both laughed out loud, there is a scene, and like legitimately funny, there is a scene where it's Spike talking to, and I don't know the character's name, but another character is kind of an informant guy who he knows that's, kind of knows what's going on. Like most crime investigation stories have, there's like a guy who you can talk to, local guy who knows all the information. And he's talking to him, and it's basically like one frame of animation. Like the one guy is standing lower down, they're on these steps, and Spike is up at the top of the steps, but you can't see his mouth, so you hear his voice, but they're not animating his face at all. And then the other character is lower down, and he's not really moving his lips at all either. So it's just two people talking. And then at one point, he's like, I gotta go. And the guy gets on the rail, and it's a composed scene where right down the middle, there's the railing for the staircase, and here's the railing, and it stairs over here, and the guy just gets on the rail and slides down the railing. Like, what? And that had to have been something that they just came up with on the day. It was so funny and different, and something that I just was not expecting to see at all. It was fantastic.
We talked about it afterwards, but that beat felt, and this is a weird thing to say about an animated movie, like the energy of it was like, oh, that actor must have just done that. It wasn't scripted. He did it, end of the day, last take, just does that, and the director says, "We're keeping it in." And again,
Totally.
you know, animation is a place where keeping it in it happens at a way different place than live action. You know, that sort of decision making. It's felt so incidental. Again, it just lends itself to how cinematic this movie is. I will say, on the flip side, I think
Yes, I was about to go to the things that didn't work. Yes,
you know,
there definitely is some stuff that doesn't work.
It's a beautifully depicted scene. The art of it, these very wide shots of characters, you know, very isolated, talking to each other, very calm. But it's also kind of like 5 minutes of jibber jabber that the movie doesn't earn, and is sort of like I kept thinking to myself, this is interest. They're saying interesting things that I'm not interested in. There's just a lot of philosophical blue blah, and that kind of permeates much of the movie. Now, some of it is like, oh, that Henry character who speaks Henry, right? The hacker.
Edward,
sorry, Edward the hacker. At one point, talks in kind of a gibberish all the time, disconnected because they're so connected to a computer. But at one point, I heard them call out the like original. Well, I think he was a phone freak. The original computer hackers, Cap'n Crunch, who I think like these are guys that would like they figured out ways to whistle into the phone so that the phone exchange. And this is like the late 60s, early 70s. The phone exchange machine would hear the tone and place long distance calls for free. Wow. And one of the people doing this was a blind person. I think Cap'n Crunch was blind and had perfect pitch, and so could whistle into the phone at the right tones to trigger the phone exchange to give them free long distance calling. I think they were put in jail.
I would hope so.
To me, that was a cool nugget. So like when you kind of strategically deploy it, which this movie sort of didn't do, I made this like real connection to that moment. The thing that these guys were talking about in this 5-minute scene of nothing, like, did not make an impact on me at all. And I didn't have to like work for it. I didn't have to pull it out of a bunch of junk words, you know. They were sitting still talking to each other.
Yeah, that's the thing. I want to call out real quick. BC Lions asked us a question that do we have an opinion about Pixar and its art/creativity? And I will say quickly myself, I mean, they're on top for a reason. They know how to make a compelling and tell a very compelling story via animation. I think Pixar is fantastic. Do they have a kind of thing that they do? Yes, but they do it pretty damn well.
I mean, I tend to agree, and I think that, you know, I'll reiterate what Kenny said. It starts for them with story. They really, the writing and the story is so core to what they do, and they figure that out so tightly first. And then they also, especially in that initial run of movies, then they go, well, how do we do this? And, you know, you look at a movie like The Incredibles, it's one of the perfect movies ever made. It's so compact, like storytelling, the writing, everything about that movie absolutely works.
If I was
in storytelling.
If I was a filmmaker and I wanted to tell, I was teaching a visual storytelling class, I would just show my class the first 10 minutes of Up and just say, it doesn't get any better than this. If you are not crying by the end of this sequence, you're dead inside. But so much information is given to you visually and nothing has to be said. It's all set to this whimsical little music and you get it all. And that, to me, that's the real strength that they have as a filmmaking body that they are. They know the format that they're working in. Now,
yeah, I'll say two things. Is the last shot in Monsters Inc. Sully opening the door, the reaction on his face, the way that they get you to that point, and unique amongst movies. And then from a technical standpoint, working, I think, with Roger Deakins on WALL-E to develop virtual camera lenses, working with him to be like, how do we replicate this effect you're going for with this particular lens that you choose in this digital space as a work of like virtual cinematography. Insane. And I'm just, it's good for everybody who likes entertainment to have a studio like that out there. They're not perfect. They're not what they once were, but that, and like I said, that initial run of films is pretty unimpeachable.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, even with like Elemental, there were moments in that movie where I was genuinely surprised what they were doing in that film. They were basically telling an immigrant story using like fire and water people, but they're telling the immigrant's story, what it's like to be an immigrant, to come to America. I mean, just, they do so much. Now, we're talking about what was not working in this animated film.
Right.
And I will say that I agreed with what you were saying about, as much as I said the stuff that really works, the stuff that does not work very well in this film. And that is the exposition. The exposition dumps in this movie, which is very indicative of anime. Anime is very much like, we're going to sit down, as much as it is a visual medium, anime, more often than not, there is a scene. If you don't know what's going on, someone's going to sit down and tell you exactly what's going on. And it's usually just said.
The orb of Isis was found by my father.
Yes.
When he passed it on to me, I was able to make a mechanism with it, but not to save the world, to destroy. Like that,
that's,
to me, I feel like it's like a musical with a plant and blow. There's like, you have these moments where like, oh, nobody, in the same way that nobody sits there and sings their thoughts or sings their dialogue.
Yeah.
They also don't, sit and contemplatively talk about their entire history to somebody in such a expository way.
Yeah, there's a whole scene between Spike and what's her name, Elektra, that's in a prison. I do sing my thoughts. Thank you, Jess. But that's what she says in the chat. Spike and Elektra in a jail, and it is very much it's that harsh, stark contrast to the stuff that really works, which is just like the really like kinetic energy you get from the action set pieces. You have the kinetic energy you get when they're just talking to each other in jail cells is just like, it just slows everything down to an absolute crawl. And it's like you're right, it's like 5 minutes of the movie. And it's like, holy moly, like I get it. I get what's going on. Can we get back to the Guga? And I think that's just kind of how that's just the format of anime that didn't translate as well into a film. That was like a real tough. My other tough spot is the whole character in Edward in general, I found just to be wholly annoying. And I understand that they are a beloved character from the show. I just like sometimes, and a lot of anime shows have this too, like a real kind of fireball-y type character. It's just their energy I did not appreciate more often than not.
I'm kind of with you on that too. There's some conventions of the form that I could, the things that I really connect with, things that really resonate with me from anime typically don't engage in. Little tropes like how Edward talks and blah, 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 blah. Like that kind of bumped me. And again, I think with that stillness thing, it's an interesting choice to use animation to depict stillness. But you got to earn that. I'm not like, I wasn't compelled enough by what these people were saying. It's ironically, to me, something I've appreciated about anime and is that it comes from a place where people really respect the form. Some of the highest grossing films in Japan are anime. And there's such a wide variety of it because it is just another form. It's not demonized or minimized to children's status. But when these shows, plant a camera on a character who's just going to talk philosophical, it's like, great. Like, you want us to think you're smart? You want us to take you seriously? Like, that's the first way to not take someone seriously. I don't know if that's a matter of like bad localization or a loss in translation kind of thing.
It very well could be.
Yeah, that's just, it's like get me back to the face kicking. It was so much fun.
Get me back to the face kicking. I mean, we were shouting that at the screen like we almost got thrown out of the theater just screaming at the top of our heads, get back to the face kicking. And then when it did, we cheered like little monkeys at getting our treat that we were begging for. Give me my face kicking. Alex, who's the big winner for you for Cowboy Bebop Hip Hop Flip Flop?
I believe a little character named Hip Hop Ding Dong. No, I was thinking about this, and I think that the guy who does the voice of Spike Spiegel is the big winner because he's an icon. I can't remember his name, but I've heard him a million times.
Steve Blum.
Oh yeah. He's a legend. He's a legend. I think he's the big winner here because, to me, something again that's always bumped me is like I don't feel like his voice is appropriate for the character. It's way too this guy. Like I don't feel like that looks like Spike looks like that voice at all. It's like the one mismatch. So
you want to know a bigger mismatch? Remember when you were saying that we were talking? Rashid is the character in Morocco, and you were like, "No, I'm pretty sure they cast somebody of Moroccan descent." No, Nicholas Guest, aka brother of Christopher Guest, who is as white as I am, played the voice of that role. So no, while they represented Moroccan, while they represented Moroccan people well in the animation, they still couldn't call central casting to get an actual Middle Eastern person to do the voice. My big winner for me is kind of tough to say. I think it's more, I feel like rotoscoping is my big winner just because I forget sometimes what that can do. And when used in the right way, which I think the best way that it is used in this movie is in the fight scene at the end. Like that whole fight scene, like animated fight scenes, usually in anime are they have things that they add to it to make it seem more compelling. Like, big like lightning bolts or like they're flying through made up air or whatever, or like, catch my dragon punch. There's like a bunch of stuff they add to it where this was just like a fight scene. They clearly shot a fight scene and then rotoscoped it, and you got just a way more kind of grounded. It felt like a really tense fight. It was great. It was because you had the character beats established, and then to have that fight, I thought that was really, 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 really cool, and something that I was like, you can't do that in a computer. That was really interesting stuff, man. Interesting.
Well, if I may, for you, then revisit Scanner Darkly.
Oh yeah,
that's a rotoscope movie, and I think who is that director? They did.
That's Linklater. That's Richard Linklater.
He did one or two other movies in that same style.
He did. Mm-hmm.
And every time people have to be reintroduced to what rotoscoping is.
Yeah, you guys, you all, we can do this. Not a big fan of Boyhood. Anyway, my least favorite Linklater movie. Everybody loved Boy.
Felt like I'd be bored.
Truly hated it. But we gave it all kinds of awards. Big Loser, though. I mean, it's tough to say that there's a reason why it'd be very hard for Kevin Feige to go back in time and put Sam Wilson's boat in a movie from 2001, but it is animated, so there really isn't any reason why you can't add it. I mean, it's not like it's locked,
we got Zack Snyder, just blasting his special editions and director's cuts all over the place. Kevin, you couldn't have snuck a shrimping boat in there. I hate to break it down to this, but Japan is an island nation. Oceans, oceanography, oceaneering factor very heavily into their entire history, and I would even say their culture. You couldn't have found a way. Look, we could go on.
Yeah, it's pointless at this point. Cowboy Bebop, Hip Hop Flip Flop. Alex, do we have another ad read for you? Do we have more draft picks for our fan-controlled football team, the fan-controlled Fandom Phantoms?
We do. We have another round of picks. Again, I'm very pleased that Commissioner Dr. Skeech Gummy Bear Brickman has chosen me to draft and announce these teams. We're bringing in a whole offensive line from Waverly U in Nebraska, which is very exciting. As a unit, these guys are just on the ball, like haha. And then actually at running back, I'm really excited to announce this is an intention to draft. We're still in negotiation, but it's looking good. We have the intention to draft former Bengal and Buccaneer Giovanni Bernard. And really,
Okay.
strategically, I think his pro knowledge on the short field is going to be some key pro knowledge we can use to build up our very young team.
I love this.
And of course, as fullback, I look forward to working in conjunction with Big G if he accepts our offer.
I can't wait to see you, a man who's never played football, do this. I can't wait.
And then at Cutie Pie, we have my dog Lupo. He's fluffy, he's sweet, and he always goes at the ball at its apex. So those are our yeah.
I love that pick. I love that pick for Cutie Pie. I was wondering who we were going to draft at Cutie Pie, and now I know. Alex, you know what time it is now, though?
I do know what time it is.
Get ready. It's game time. Yes, look at that.
Is that the first perfect two-stopper?
Nailed it.
Oh.
Again, it's always a dream of mine that somebody logs on just as they see us and they're just like, wait, what? Alex,
so turned on that they actually get kicked off Twitch.
It's insane. What's the game of the week? It's your turn. What do we got?
Well, you really think you can top Bat? It's the ultimate Who Almost Played Batman quiz.
Oh, I love this. Let's go. I love it. Let's go.
I want to thank Looper for all of this info and their article about unlikely.
The movie starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Bruce Willis, directed by Rian Johnson. Looper.
There's a special after credit sequence where they talk about almost casting. No, it's a website called Looper, an article that they wrote about unlikely almost happens in the Bat world. So I'm going to read the name of an actor. You'll tell me whether or not there was like serious conversation about them playing Batman. Are you ready?
I love it. Yes, I'm ready.
All right. Pierce Brosnan.
Yes, I know that's for a fact. Yes.
That's true. Ray Liotta.
Whew. I'm going to say yes.
That's true. Yes, there was conversation about Ray Liotta.
A terrible casting choice, but I could see them doing that in the 80s.
Tom Selleck.
He was almost Indiana Jones. I'm going to say no.
The literal thing I wrote is no, but he was almost Indiana Jones.
Sorry to kill your bit, man. But yeah, he was. He was almost Indiana Jones.
Kyle Wagner.
Who? Kyle Wagner?
Lyle Wagner.
No.
Actually, yes. Lyle, of course, was the star of Who the Hell Is That? And What the Heck Is This Guy Doing Here?
Well done.
Donald Trump.
No.
No, but a billionaire with weird fascistic vigilance fixations. I don't know.
There you go.
Bill Murray.
No.
Yes.
What? When?
Was part of a group of directors who in the 80s were approached to try and crack Batman for Warner Brothers. He pitched Bill Murray as Batman and Eddie Murphy as Robin.
Wow. In the 80s? That's like pitching like LeBron and Kevin Durant in your backcourt.
Well, that comic book we read with an African-American Robin was almost Tim Burton almost cast one of the Wayans as a Robin.
I knew that. Yes. That's even in that one that the Batman 89 comic. Yeah, it is, but it is supposed to be Marlon Wayans.
Your next question, Jack Black.
I think that's yes, actually.
No, but he was considered for Green Lantern in a project they were developing that was kind of like The Mask.
Come on, man.
And lastly, Alec Baldwin.
Yes.
Which is ironic given Batman's stance on guns.
Hey-o!
Can you really top Bat, the ultimate Who Almost Played Batman quiz?
Pew, 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 pew. Dust the rust off that one. Anyway, moving on. Oh boy. Freddie Emerald said, I almost played Batman, depending on how loose we could be with our almost. Well said. You can be really loose. BC Lions said I played Santa and St. Patrick. I've also played both of those things as well.
Freddie, that time you jumped off the roof with a towel tied around your neck, that doesn't count.
No, it does not. Oh, baby. Baby, I love it. All right, now it's Hoopla recommendations before we get out of here. A couple of things we do. Well, first thing we do is Hoopla recommendations, in which you can go to Hoopla, you can go to the website, you can download the app to your phone or your iPad, and you can digitally download, put in your library card. You can read tons of comics, including, I believe, there's some Cowboy Bebop anime there, manga there, and we give recommendations for you. Alex, do you have a recommendation for the viewers?
Yes, it's something that I'm about to crack into myself. It is Batman: The Rebirth Deluxe Edition Book 3, and specifically, and I've read some conversation around this. This run is much maligned amongst Batman fandom, but there is a single issue that depicts a double date between Superman, Batman, Lois Lane, and Catwoman. Because in the storyline, I think Batman marries Catwoman, and I think it's in this run. But
Selena Kyle.
Selena Kyle. I think in this run of comics, that double date happens, and it includes some very, very interesting conversation between Superman and Lois and Batman and Catwoman, each about the other and what they have to say. And it's a very interesting take on like the parallel lives of these people. So go ahead and crack that one open.
I don't know if it's on Hoopla, but do check out or go on YouTube and look up Mallrats Superman conversation, in which former really fun actor turned Scientologist Jason Lee, don't kill us, he gives a diatribe as to why Lois Lane is incapable of carrying Clark Kent's baby, but which is incredible. Look it up. My recommendation is I recommended this last week. I'm still pouring through it. I am still also reading all the Scott Pilgrim's Marvel 1602, but I have gotten into the Attack on Titan manga. I'm on the second one, the second bound volume. So I think it's like issues 5 through 10. This is just great. I really feel like I'm late to the game on this. The anime is also great. You want to talk about, we're talking about world building in anime manga space. This is just something like you just have never, you couldn't come up with this on your best day. And Alex and I are both amazing improvisers who come up with all kinds of goofy stuff off the top of our heads. You couldn't pay me enough to come up with an amazing concept as this. And you can check it out. You have to swipe left though. You can't read it like a book. You got to go this way. You got to go this way because that's how manga is written, but it's worth it. Alex, do we have a couple more draft picks from our team?
We do. The fan-controlled Phantoms, and again, I want to thank Dr. Skeech Gummy Bear Brickman, the league commissioner, for letting me make these announcements. At quarterback, we're drafting Joel Kugler from West Lansing University. This guy's faster than you can even imagine.
West Lansing, football powerhouse.
Yeah, absolutely. At linebacker, we are drafting a superstar from the Ohio University, Warren Holmes. He set the conference record for sacks last season. The guy's an assassin.
The MAC. And Ohio University's in the MAC. Go ahead.
For our coach, and I think this is going to be controversial, Hoosiers firebrand Bobby Knight. I know. No, I know. Kenny, I know. Before you say it, I know. I know. The basketball coach. But I think the speed of the game will be a real way in for this legend. So
I gotta tell you,
that's some of the starting lineup of the fan-controlled Phantoms.
I don't think Bobby Knight's available. I'm gonna say
I checked. He's not coaching at Indiana anymore. I checked. It's a different guy now.
I pretty much think he's not available. As much as you would think he is available, he's not.
Well, he's drafted, so he better show up. There's some very, very stiff penalties for missing out.
Probably get one of his kids. You probably get one of his kids to come over, but he's not as fiery as him. Wow, that's fantastic. Oh my god! Before we get out of here, we got to ask what our dogs think. What does your dogs think about Cowboy Bebop Hip Hop Flip Flop?
Well, as much as I've been trying to get them to call me Hip Hop Ding Dong ever since I saw the movie, they really take exception to any of these products and projects that take me out of the home, because so much of it is available through our screens at home that I think they're just a little spoiled, and I tried to gently remind them of that, but daddy's got to eat,
Hey, oh, yep, that's right. My dog Monday night, she was just oblivious to the world. Little did she know that the next day she was going to go to the doggy dentist and be put under and have 5 teeth pulled. Yes. We only thought they were going to pull 1. And then they got in there and like, actually, we got to pull 4 more. Sorry, that's a big old bill we're getting. So she was just in bliss, just like living through, like thinking that everything is great in the world. And my owner left and came back, and we went to a 7:30 show. I was home by like 10. Usually when we go to the movies, we're not home till like 1 in the morning because we're going at like the last possible showing. But yeah, she was just living her dream. Little did she know that the next day she was about to get absolutely blasted in the mouth. BC Lions. I know Simon Fraser. Simon Fraser
We can't
University.
say that on Twitch. BC Lions is going to have to mute the stream, dude. You can't talk like that.
Blast.
I've been holding my tongue all.
She did though. They went in there. She was under Alex from 9 a.m. until like 3 p.m. Like a solid 6 hours. Ooh. Even the vets who did it were like, yeah, that was a lot of work for us. Like crazy. Anyway, we did it. Phrasing. Exactly. It's all about phrasing. Anyway, we should probably get out of here. Alex, where can the folks find you?
At Duke Midnight MID, Duke _ Midnight MIDNITE, as indicated below, on Threads, Instagram, other things, and wherever major magazines are sold.
That's right. Kenny G. Stevenson on Twitch and TikTok. Again, I promise within the next like 2 weeks, I'm going to start doing more on both of those platforms. Kenny G. Donut King on Threads and Instagram. We did it. Thanks for watching, everyone. I have no idea what we're going to talk about next week. I don't know. We'll figure something out, but it's going to be a fun one, right?
Oh, Hip Hop Ding Dong is ready to roll. Hip Hop Ding Dong, ready to roll. And with that, we definitely have to go out for someone pops a button on us for that. Hip Hop Ding Dong out. Good night.